Hey gang, it's Jay from JTech and welcome to another JTech video. One of the most often overused cliches on the internet is a famous saying from one of the greatest superhero movies ever made. You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And that is where the main topic of discussion is today. The Nintendo Switch 2. I was ready to see what the Nintendo Switch 2 was going to bring to this generation of gaming. Fast forward a couple months later and boy oh boy, where do we even begin with a Nintendo Switch 2? Firstly, some of the reports that are coming out do seem a little too doomerist, going with this whole doomerist narrative that the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to flop, it's going to become the next Nintendo Wii U or the next PS3 or the Xbox One. And I do see where people are coming from there. Seeing as people are saying that the Switch 2 will flop as hard as the Wii U or the Xbox One or potentially the PS3. As overreactionary as those statements sound, I do personally think that it's not going to be that bad. The Switch 2 will be a very good and is a very good console on paper with its features, and it's a good improvement on what the original Switch and the Switch OLED brought to the market. But at this point in time, can you honestly say for certain that the Switch 2 is absolutely going to be a runaway hit like the original Switch 1? Probably not. And there are a lot of reasons as to why people are saying that it might flop as hard as the Wii U, or it's the next Xbox One, or the next, PlayStation 3. And those are valid concerns. And I can get into 3 points. The first point being, if you do not have money for the Switch 2, you can buy the Nintendo Switch. Xbox fans, look away. Now, this reminds me of what Don Matrix said in 2013 at the announcement of the Xbox One, and it really does sound familiar. Doug Bowser, that's a funny name for a Nintendo CEO, Doug Bowser did himself say in a roundabout way that we do have a console for people who are unable to afford the Switch 2 at this moment in time. If you can't afford the Switch 2, there's always the Switch 1. And the Switch 1 is not going anywhere anytime soon. There'll still be games coming for it and still has a massive backlog of great games to play on. But when you're introducing your new console, that's not something you want to hear. You want to hear why you want to tempt people to part ways with their money to get your new machine. If you can't afford it, just get the regular Switch 1. And we all know what happened with the Xbox One when Don Matrix pretty much said, if you do not want a machine that connects to the internet, we have a console for you, that's the Xbox 360. So there's that terminology, that press release that got people thinking, oh, we remember when a CEO said that last time out, and yeah, the company has never really recovered from that, and that was Microsoft in 2013 upon the launch of the Xbox One. Another sentiment is the pricing and how crazy the pricing sounds as compared to something similar that happened in 2006. The price for the Switch 2 is retailing at $450, which, to be honest, that's a fair price. It's nothing as crazy expensive as what the PlayStation 3 did in 2006, but it is a fair and a decent price for a second console. The problem is, however, in order for you to enjoy that investment, it needs software. And the software on the Nintendo Switch 2 is crazy expensive, which is going to set a precedent that we're already seeing where some AAA games will start being priced away from the traditional $60, $70 range, and we'll start getting games that start costing $85, $86, possibly $95. And the rumor that GTA 6 is going to be the first mainstream AAA $100 game, oh man, it sets a terrible precedent. See, when the PS3 was announced and we're constantly told that this game is so good, you need 2 jobs to work for it. Again, the marketing language, like, guys, come on. Why would I need 2 jobs to buy your machine? And at what time will I have to play the machine that requires me to do 2 jobs to get it? And also, where are the games? That's an old meme from the PS3 days, the early launch of the PS3. But $90 to $80, yes, that's a hard pill to swallow. But potentially breaking the $80 barrier and going straight up into $90 for Mario Kart World, that has rubbed people the wrong way, and people saying it's like the PlayStation 3. And the third and possibly the final point that people are pointing out with the Nintendo Switch 2 is that some of the upgrades just feel all like microtransactions. The hardware components of the Switch 2 are massively improved. I like the fact that it's got a bigger screen. It looks much more sleek. You know how I feel about black devices. Hashtag black devices matter, as always. It looks sleek, it looks clean, looks more mature. It's going to output at 4K 60, but there are a bunch of other impressive handhelds that have come out since the first Switch 2. Of course, we've got the Steam Deck, the ROG Ally. You add an additional C button that you cannot use unless you pay for connecting to the Nintendo Online Store, the Nintendo Online community. The launch title, which is supposed to be a pack-in tech demo, you're going to have to pay for that. And the disappointing fact that it didn't come out with an OLED display, that for me was just, I was just like, of course they're not going to drop this with an OLED display. Why release the first Switch and then we have the Switch OLED and then the Switch 2 is going back to an IPS display? I don't know. I just certainly don't know. So I personally do feel that these 3 points, of course, you know, telling people to buy the older previous console, the cost of the games, and the reason to upgrade, they are valid concerns, and how expensive these are and how it just feels like not much of a leap. I see why people would say that this is going to be the next Xbox One or the PS3 or the Wii U. But there's another side of that I like to see. The Switch 2 is finally going to push 4K 60 on Nintendo games. Nintendo games are already smooth as is on the Switch, docked and undocked, but they're just going to go a notch higher with 4K. They're embracing power in their games. And of course, Nintendo being Nintendo. Nintendo not competing with Sony and Microsoft, but doing what Nintendo do, and that is making good games. But with Nintendo announcing their 9th generation console, it just feels a bit like a step back, and some of their announcements have just rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, myself included. And I do get where people are coming from. Will the Switch 2 flop as hard as the Wii U? I don't think so. It might start out, like many people are saying, it might start out like the 3DS. Sales will start slow, then eventually it will pick up and it will do well. The one thing that will keep this console going is the fact that it's a Nintendo console. No one else makes Nintendo consoles. No one else makes Nintendo IPs. That's why it will sell relatively well. Nintendo has a very loyal, very dedicated fan base, and it will do relatively well. It won't flop as hard as the Wii U, but it just won't be as successful as the original Switch. So, I mean, my thoughts on this console is that it's a very impressive machine. I just wish Nintendo went about it the right way. Everyone was looking at Nintendo as this bastion of glory compared to Microsoft and Sony, but it just feels like they've kind of stepped into that corporate side. But at the end of the day, corporations are there to make money. Corporations aren't your friends, and this is unfortunately the bottom line for them. So yeah, so that's it for this video, guys. Let me know in the comment section down below. Are you excited for the Switch 2? Do you think the Switch 2 will flop? Let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button. And if you don't want to miss any upload from JTech, hit the bell icon. It's Jay from JTech. Talk to you guys next time.